Welcome to the 24K Life Podcast. I'm your host, Derick Gant. I am a registered investment advisor. I'm your money coach and your high performance coach. Listen, I'm also here to help guide you through the process of adopting and implementing your own personal code. You know, every week we bring someone in that we believe can enhance your personal code. What's your code? Listen, each of us should be living by a personal code of honor. It is a way of stating our desires to the world, understanding that we are issuing our principles, our values, and our commitment that we plan to live by. In doing that, this guide, this code defines how you choose to show up in every environment, regardless of external circumstances. You know, we do this through our community, the 24K Life community, because it's very hard for people to adopt a code and then to actually implement and live by the code without having a support group, accountability group, and other people that are also striving to live their personal code. So today, as we're doing our deep dive, we brought you somebody new and exciting. I'm just telling you, she's exciting. Now, you may not go, why is she exciting? But I'm going to tell you why she's exciting, and she's going to prove why she's exciting, because the girl is innovative. I mean, she's not here for the reason she thinks she's here. She's here for a totally different reason, but we're going to get into that. So today, we are bringing you Jen Veralle. Jen, welcome to the 24K Life Podcast.
Happy to be here, Derick. Let's go. Let's have the conversation.
Hey, so check this out, everybody. When she came on, now I knew her under a different name, and she changed her. She went back to her original name, and as I already shared with you, it's Veralle. So I was in the background going, Veralle.
Absolutely.
Oh. For those of you that are really young, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but it was a famous song. It wasn't Veralle. It was, something else, but very popular song. Everybody would recognize the tune. So Jen, tell us, now you don't have to worry about what I said. I'm going to bring out the uniqueness that I want, but tell us about your business, Spark Track, and your co-partnered business, Zero Proof Collective, and Sauna and Sobriety. Tell us a little bit about you and your businesses.
Yeah, for sure. Well, currently there are 3 in the mix, and you got it. Spark Track is my 12-year-old business that I started as my first entrepreneurial venture, and it's marketing and events. So I go to events and I capture the energy. I write and create content and help extend the life of events. You know how sometimes you go to an event and then there's like no content or nothing after? That's what I love. I love the processing of what's been learned. Yeah, so that's been 12 years. And then 3 years ago, I co-founded Zero Proof Collective, which is all about getting non-alcoholic offerings into our social spaces and really being an advocate for overcoming some of the challenges to doing that. And we can chat about how many I've uncovered over the last 3 years, but basically serving, non-alcoholic bars and just serving people elevated non-alcoholic beverages. And then the Sauna and Sobriety venture, I co-founded 2 years ago. And what I kept seeing was, we need to create new adult social experiences that are engaging and fun and don't centralize around alcohol. And I myself have 10 years of sobriety. So I just felt so othered in so many experiences that I would have. So I was like, well, let's create it and let's pair the hot and cold contrast therapy of the sauna with conversation and wellness. And it's just, It's such a good feeling.
Excellent. So my understanding, and I have not seen the totality of your TED Talk, but you've done a TED Talk. What was that about?
Yeah. So, I delivered the talk in October of 2023. It's titled "Why We Should Rethink Drinking Culture." And researching kind of what I wanted to include in my talk, I realized that there was a lot of talks about gray area drinking and personal drinking. And what I wanted to challenge America with, the world with, is our social spaces and how they really don't support people who choose not to drink for whatever reason, and to challenge some of those cultural norms so that people can just make a different choice when it comes to alcohol consumption.
Yeah. So I'm going to share my alcohol story because I think it's funny. I don't know if it's funny or not, but I'm going to share mine. And then I want to ask
Great.
you a different question. So when I was, I went to a little private high school, college prep high school. I was heavily attender of a Pentecostal church. So if you can imagine between those two things, the way I was brought up was that, there was no cigarettes, no smoking, no drinking, there was no nothing. I mean, we barely got to watch TV. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying? So my freshman year in college, you cut the strings and you go away to school, and I'm in school and I'm with all my brothers because I have 120 football brothers because I'm an athlete. And of course, athletes like to party like most college kids. And so I'm going to this party and I feel pretty safe and secure because I'm there with all my football brothers. So we get in the party and, this guy's apartment, I mean, I think he had every bottle that he had ever cracked open of Colt 45 or Red Bull or some other beer that we like to drink. I mean, it was decoration, right? He had all on top of the cabinetry. So all around the kitchen, 7 rows deep. Yeah, proud to display his wares, right? So, I'm in this party for a good 4 minutes. And so, you want to drink? I'm like, no, I'm good. You want to drink? No, I'm good. And so somebody else, I think it was actually the host. And I'm an offensive guy, so I'm trying not to get hit. So this defensive guy who does nothing but want to hit, and it was his party. He says, hey, you want to drink? And I'm like, no, but do you have any Kool-Aid? And it was one of those moments, Jen, where, you hear that record go, and everybody turns around and looks. That's the way it felt. Everybody in that vicinity looked at me like, what the frick is wrong with you? And so that was my very first alcoholic experience. And it was in college. And it was the impetus to show me that, man, people are serious about their perception of what's going on socially. And then I'm sharing this just because I'm sure it's going to be relatable to what you're going to share with us at some point. But then I started to figure out that as I went to clubs and parties in college, I would go to the bar straight out the rip, get a Solo cup, okay, and tell them to put fill it with water, and I would just hold my Solo cup. But and it wasn't because I wasn't a drinker; I just wasn't a drinker, right? So it wasn't like I was for or against. I just didn't know. And I didn't like the taste of beer, and alcohol didn't really taste that great to me. Now I did find some stuff that tasted great. The Mary Buffaloes turned out to be pretty good. But at this point, that was my way of coping, because if I had a cup in my hand, nobody would ask me if I wanted a drink, and they would just assume it was vodka or some clear liquor, and everybody left me alone. And whenever I didn't have the cup, I got inundated. Want to drink. So I'm assuming those are the things that you are addressing as you mention adult opportunities for alternative engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to my talk, what I really wanted to communicate with people is that it's a, experience of belonging, and people, look and see you don't have a drink in your hand, and they will continue to ask because they want you to join them in this experience. So I think it's very telling that you at an early age just figured out all you need to do is just have something in your hand so that people look at you and you somehow look social, right? It's a crazy phenomenon, but it's true. So that's a lot of what we talked about, or what I shared in my TED talk, is just the experience of belonging and culture. So and there's many ways. I use the term sober necessary for myself, which is, as you defined, it just wasn't something that interested you and you didn't like the taste. But for me, I loved that experience of, feeling that kind of high and that social lubricant kick in so that I can be social. Yeah. Right. So just that's cool. Right, has a relationship with alcohol on a spectrum, is what I say.
Yeah, no, it does. And all mine were, I can't tell you the last time. It was college, the last time I've been drunk, and I'm 58 years old. So it's,
wow.
When they found me doing snow angels outside.
They're like, well, yeah.
Right. I knew it was too much. So, but anyway, so I want to talk to you today about the noise. And it seems to me, and I said seems, and I did my homework, but I don't know the intricacies of your business model. But it seems to me that you have created a really cool, unique way to build community.
Mhm.
You talked briefly about the sauna and sobriety. I saw some pictures of like some ice bath thing inside of a lake with a cutout square,
Yeah.
and I mean, I've seen the sweat tent lodges, and so I want to talk about how you're cutting through the noise from a business model perspective, and how you're building your brand and your business, because I think that is, I mean, you've been interviewed 1,000 times, and for those of you that think I ask about the TED Talk, just because, I didn't. I did 2 TED Talks, and together, I don't think that is 10% of the views that she got on her one TED Talk. She got over 47,000 views on this TED Talk, so you guys should go check it out. And so I want her to share with us from an entrepreneurial perspective, the other entrepreneurs of us out here trying to break through the noise of what her business model is, and how she's obviously including a really unique organic approach to doing that. So, Jen, what is your business model?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that so much, that insight. That I really came to the idea that I wanted to impact social spaces. So what's happening across America is we have all this money going into treatment and insurance, like fundamentally systems that are broken, that don't support long-term sobriety. And that is my personal story. So I could stay home and, maintain months of sobriety, but the minute I stepped into an event or a social space, that all fell away. So I had to think that others are challenged with this same problem. And it is the social experience that trips up so many people, that sends them right back into treatment, which is also confirming the idea that they need to go away and be in a certain environment to stay sober, when I really believe that it's about integrating back into your life and your different communities that will be, a sustainable model. So one of the things that I did that's very different from most paths that I've seen is there are a lot of sober coaches out there. You'll see them on Instagram and wherever, that just one-on-one coaching, helping people. And that's obviously amazing. And then there's also NA product makers who, make these elevated beverages and benefit from having the sales of those products. I'm just keep going like higher and higher into this cultural piece, where if we don't change our social, settings and environments, for example, bars and restaurants that centralize alcohol, how are we going to be able to, support all these new mindful drinkers that are coming to just the choice they don't want to drink? They're not going to be sitting in a bar for 6 hours on a Friday night. We have to create different social experiences, and we need to show that they're celebrated. And that's why my, tagline, sober, not somber, comes in, because I always thought an alcohol-free life and being in sobriety would be boring and dull, and I would always be viewed as not fun. And I, time and time again, I'm proving that over and over to be wrong, because
you're fun.
Well, I am. And I didn't know that I was without alcohol. And so many people attribute that, community connection and that loosening up and engaging with people, they attribute it to the impact or the effect of alcohol. And I challenge all of that. So then, it's looking at social spaces like, creating sauna and sobriety as a social experience, but then also corporate America. So I am working right now to work with HR leaders to say, how do we address, the impact of alcohol misuse in corporate America? Who's willing to step up and say that they care about their employees' well-being enough to tackle this kind of murky layer, because people can drink responsibly. So the lines of like what a corporation feels like they can do and model, there's just not a lot of it out there.
Yeah. How well is it being accepted? I mean, are people going, yeah, that's a great idea. Let me bring you in and figure this out?
Yeah, I think it is, with this year being the 12th year of Dry January, and people in the workplace being very open about their choices not to drink, I think corporate, cultures and leadership can no longer ignore that. So if they're having events that are centered around alcohol, I am seeing that corporate is starting to kind of say, we can at least have some great non-alcoholic options. We might not be ready. Our cultural readiness might not, be there to say we're completely banning alcohol at our events and like be that, drastic, but somewhere along the way, bringing your culture along for like different experiences, and also tracking and measuring data that shows productivity and the correlation between addiction and mental health obviously is huge. So there's a lot of programs and EAP and funding for mental health and therapy. And alcohol use sometimes kind of goes under the radar until it becomes like a rock bottom for an employee where they just need to go away.
Yeah. So is that your goal or do you think that it should be a scenario where most businesses just don't have alcohol at all, or that they have NA drinks and A drinks?
I think right now it's A and NA drinks for many.
No, I'm talking about your goal. Like, what would you like to see as
Derick, I've come a long way, because maybe in the beginning I'd like to just be like, let's just omit it from everywhere. But I don't know. I mean, yes, ultimately getting rid of it everywhere, because now like there's health reasons. Like the Surgeon General has just come out January 3rd to say alcohol is directly related to 7 different types of cancer. So when I think about it from the health perspective, I'm like, it should not be there. I mean, it's and why are we plying our employees with this? But in reality, it's a little bit on a spectrum. And what I like about A and NA existing and coexisting is people who are maybe not sober necessary, like me, are starting to see that they can just make that choice. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, explain to people, including myself, what it's like, because in my limited layman's brain, I'm thinking, okay, well, if I don't want to drink, I just don't drink. Now, as I became an adult, I used to hold the solo cup. Now I just go out, I don't really drink. I might have one, but I don't really drink. And so I've got my kahunas up, and I just man up and like, I don't, that's not what I do. But that's not just because it's something I can do and I feel confident doing, doesn't mean that other people have that same opportunity. So explain that to, because obviously, when you have something that's an addiction, it's more than just telling yourself no.
Yeah. So you have no shame, in that situation, just not having a drink in your hand, and anyone that comes up and questions you, you're like, whatever. There's a ton of shame attached to people, that have experienced like having to, remove alcohol from their lives. And it's just a shameful thing, because usually a lot of bad things maybe have happened to be able to, have that person be at that point. So there's shame attached. There's like, I have a ton of women who say, the minute I didn't have a drink in hand at an event, everyone assumed I was pregnant. So like, ages 20, 30 and into 40s, women are dealing with that stigma of like, well, the only reason you can possibly
that is so bad. That is just crazy.
It is. And I still hear it. Even just health reasons, or religious, whatever the reason, people just don't feel like they want to explain that, nor should they have to. So I think,
but everybody always approaches you and goes, are you sick? Is it religious? Have you always been that way? Is it something you just started? Did you have a bad experience? It's like, so I'm the kind of person that I don't like being asked questions, I mean, if I'm in an interview, of course, but just on a personal level, I'm like, so I'm like, you really don't want to know why I don't drink. And they're like, because it's poison. And I just go right in, and my body is the temple, why would I subterfuge my own health, so then they start shrinking and backing up like you're an asshole.
No, and sometimes I've had to tell it straight. Like if someone asks me, I'll just say, I just, choose not to drink. And if they keep pushing it, I will go there. Say, do you really want to know? Okay.
How did you come to the idea about the sauna or the ice bath? And I know you were looking to create alternative experiences, but I'm assuming that as you create these alternative experiences, you're looking to build a community so that these experiences can continue to expand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my personal journey. So I tried to get sober starting 12 years ago, and it took a year and a half or more because I had a couple returns to use. So I always say, like, my first year, I basically stayed in. I didn't go into social spaces. The next couple of years, I sort of started expanding into different spaces that I felt like were going to be safe. And then I discovered sauna and cold immersion and found that it was just a place I could go on my own. Like, I didn't have to like invite a bunch of friends and, go together. I could just go on my own and experience, this guided sauna session with 20 other humans and not have to say anything if I didn't want to. I mean, how beautiful is that? It was just like, I mean, I'm an introvert. And as I was like trying to find my voice and my purpose and come out of this, shame, there's so much shame attached to it that it was just a really safe space where no one asked me, why aren't you drinking? No one would ever ask that. I mean, I'm drinking water and everyone else is. So when I realized the connections between the physicality and the boundaries that you're, pushing yourself in through the heat and cold mimics sobriety. So like creates a pause to make a different choice. Okay. And so I love that. And that's why the sauna and sobriety movement is growing. We're doing sauna social events. We're hosting them for entrepreneurs because, old ideas of networking and business exchange and happy hours are also kind of coming under fire, and that people just are tired of the expectations that they need to drink at a corporate happy hour event.
Are you promoting these as in a alternative or just an alternative experience to the traditional bullshit that's out here?
Well, both. And the reason we have sobriety in the name of the sauna and sobriety experience is because for 10 years I would look like, how am I going to know this event I've been invited to is a sober, safe space, which just meant I wanted to know I could have an NA option. And I never did. It's like you just kind of find yourself in that place. So it's part of the name in sauna and sobriety, but we really focus on the community experience. And then, oh, by the way, here's a great non-alcoholic beverage. And then sauna social is more about the entrepreneurial, experience and community and connection, but we also don't have any alcohol there. And women are just like, awesome, it's 3:30 on a Wednesday and I have to go pick up my kids and do all these things. I just don't want alcohol, and I don't really need to see it, especially when it's paired with, sauna, which can be dehydrating.
Yeah. Hey, I got a business idea. I got an experience idea for you. Ready?
All right.
So you heard of sip and paint, right?
No.
You never heard of sip and paint?
I get the idea. So you're drinking and painting something.
Yeah. Oh, well, here in Ohio, it's it's been pretty popular. So anyway, I was going to tell you, but you see, you're blowing my joke because you're not familiar with it. But I was going to say, instead of sip and paint, you can have dip and paint, and you can have a whole bunch of different dips, right?
Oh my God.
Dips, queso dips, and all the things with your NA stuff, and they can do their paint. People, they go to the class to paint. It's not by numbers, but you never seen that where they go and they paint?
I have been a part of that, but you know what I love about that is taking experiences and names. Like there's, wine and what's it called? Wine and nine for a nine, for women who golf. And so like taking these experiences that are typically paired with alcohol, even in the name of the event, and just flipping that.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, you can take it. It's yours. Dip and
paint. Okay, sweet. I will take that.
You got to keep these experiences going. Because let me tell you something. Black people don't want to go jump in the lake, right, when it's frozen. So if you want to diversify what you're doing.
Oh my gosh, Derick. No, seriously, Duluth, Minnesota, plunging in Lake Superior. There is nothing more exhilarating.
All right, I'm going to do it one day. I'm not afraid of cold baths. I'm an ex-athlete, so I'm not afraid of cold baths. I'm going to do it. That's right. I promise I'm going to do it. Okay, cool. So what are you doing tell me about your community? So you have these 3 different businesses. 2 of them are really socially generated. I mean, the one is socially generated because you're providing a service to and for social events, but the other 2 are directly looking to me as community building opportunities. So what's your model there? How are you? Is it a newsletter that you keep the glue together, or do you guys jump on Zoom calls, or do you just meet during these events when you host them? And I know you got something coming up on March 6th, maybe. So we're gonna ask you about that too. But we're not yet. But tell us about the other.
Yeah. So it really has been an evolution. I think you mentioned right at the beginning, I just changed my name, a new last name through divorce. And it's actually not even an origin name. It is a completely made up last name.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait
And
a minute, your new name wasn't, because I think I did
no,
say she went back to her original name. See how we assume things? Ooh, so tell
I
us
know.
about this. Were you watching Game of Thrones or something and you came up with this
Uh,
name?
yeah, it came to me well, I have a love of Italy. I studied in Rome. My nationality or my origin is Norwegian and Bohemian, but I've always been drawn to Italy and having studied there. And I wanted to manifest my next chapter in life, which I see, somehow being connected to Italy. So I was like, this name just came to me. I did some meditation on it and I got up one morning and just wrote it out. And it means all of the truth. So it is tied to my personal brand, which
Wow,
is
that's
all about,
dope.
yeah, being very true and honest about alcohol's real impact. Because I told myself a lot of, myths and things about alcohol that, I was high functioning. I worked out every day. I was fine. I was managing. But, the truth is no, it was so devastating for me and my life and my family. Like, right? So all of the truth is what it means. Mm-hmm.
That's dope. I love it. I
Ah,
love it.
yeah. Yeah, it's been
That's
great.
too
It's
cool.
been
I
well
didn't know
received.
that. And I know that you've done interviews about it, and I saw it, and I saw it in the title, and I saw
Mhm.
you starting to talk about it, and I cut it off because when I interview people, I want everything to be like new and exciting to me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well,
so I'm
this is,
glad
yeah.
that you jumped into that. So, but
Yeah.
back to the community building. So I'm
Mhm.
a new entrepreneur looking to build community. You're obviously doing it organically, or are you doing it organically?
Mhm.
It appears to be organic because it's localized, right? People have to show up and do
Right.
this sauna. They have to show up and do the cold plunge. They have to show up and do the sweat tents. So it appears that you're doing it organically. So tell me
Mhm.
about like how is that growing? And how
Mhm.
are you like are both companies or opportunities um the same community, or is it two separate communities?
Yeah. So I would,
Well, I'm just in case you're wondering, I'm talking about the zero proof community
yes.
and the sauna community.
Yes, absolutely. We'll set Spark Track aside. That's my revenue generation that is behind the scenes. I don't share much about it at this time. So, with Zero Proof Collective, it is about quarterly meetings with NA leaders in the industry locally.
Mhm.
And it's bringing us all together to talk about, maybe planning an NA day. If you've heard of those, there's one in Chicago, there's all across the country. So, like bigger,
In
broader,
a day or an A day?
and
Okay,
NA,
I missed the end thing. I'm like,
non-alcoholic.
why would you guys have an A day?
There's money
Okay,
every day is A day.
yeah, exactly. Is it 3
Let's
o'clock
just
yet? No, it's 10 o'clock somewhere. I've heard that
right.
before.
Oh, I say that all the time. Yeah, so that community kind of just organically grew because there were a bunch of local makers making these products that were kind of in silos. But as you know, if you're making a product and you're focused on that, it is very hard to address some top level issues like getting into liquor stores, having shelf space, having being on a menu. So we wanted to bring attention collectively in the Minneapolis community about all of these great options and then, helping people actually get access to them.
Mhm.
So that community has grown organically for the last 3 years. And we just have an
Okay.
opt-in list of what we call NA advocates. And these are people who want to have a voice or help with the movement, but also are willing to volunteer and do all the things that, are needed for different events that we have. And they also want to attend completely alcohol-free events. So that's when I kept seeing that happening in the Zero Proof Collective community, it drew me into like the sauna and sobriety creation because we already had like this built-in audience saying we
Mhm.
want more of these experiences and we don't even necessarily want to go to a bar to have that.
Right.
Like, right. So like these sauna communities in the Minneapolis area we've been to, Embrace North is my home base, but there's Sauna Strong, there's Sauna Camp, there's the Canopy Hotel, the Hilton has an outdoor roof deck, the Hewing does now. Four Seasons has cedar and stone sauna. So we are bringing like this community of, well, with Sauna Social in particular, which is a sister experience to the Sauna and Sobriety, a community of women. So those events are 15 women only. And we talk about entrepreneurship. Dawn has been to one of at least, well, 2 of those. And so just different experiences, but we're organically growing that because women are like, this is so refreshing. Like we can get in our collective self-care and we don't have to like be in a suit and, you know, go have alcoholic beverages and network. It's just a totally free way to, you know, make business connections, I guess.
Okay. So are these, I'm asking, I don't know, but it sounds like these are, you know, part of your personal ministry, not necessarily part of your business model, or are you using these as part of your business model?
Yeah. So everything that you're about, like I was, you know, kind of brushing up on 24K and
As well,
thinking
you
about
should.
values, right? So like what drives me is more of purpose and more of like my values right now. And that's felt a little uncertain in that in the past, I've had a like business revenue generating model. And right now, I'm really leaning into purpose because I want to be kind of organically shown what's going to be a lasting kind of sustainable income in this space. So like transitioning out of Spark Track and marketing events into more of like community healing and providing people with alcohol-free experiences.
Okay. So it is part of your business model. I like it. I think it should be. Because we all have a gift and God has all given us a message and he's given us a gift or gifts. And when you can tap into your gifts, which you have, when you can tap into your gifts and then be the presenter of an alternative way of life that's obviously healthier, it's obviously equally as good for clarity and vision and health and all the amazing things that having a better body does for you, then, you know, that is your gift. And I think I know God gave us these gifts so that we could feed ourselves, so that we can move forward and sustain. Now, my last question is a big question, and you might answer and say, I don't have it all mapped out yet, but you started the ish. So I'm going to ask you about it. You said that, I have this affinity and this drawing towards Italy, which is why you chose your name, which your name, the meaning of your name is absolutely exquisite. You're doing these events. What's the big picture? What's the transition to, what's your big vision? What do you see for yourself and how can the community help you get there? So what's up with the Italy? Where are we going? Is that retirement? Is that retirement or is that just part of the matrix of how you're moving?
Yeah, well, I'll openly share that I'm 52 and I mentioned recently divorced and my kids now 19 and 21 are off to college and that's new for me as of the last 5 months. So I'm feeling this expansiveness. And what my thought was with Italy is being able to be there a couple times a year for 3 to 4 weeks, you know, whatever. And there's a couple non-alcoholic winemakers in Italy that are on my radar because I would love to learn the craft. So one of the misconceptions about, you know, how non-alcoholic wine is created is in the past, it's tasted a lot like, you know, juice or sugary. And what's happening now with technology is these makers and vineyards are actually making like a full alcoholized wine. And then they have the vacuum technology that pulls out the ethanol.
That's crazy.
And then you have this beautiful like wine that mimics everything that you loved about what you thought was, you know, the real alcoholic version. And that excites me. Like I would love to be able to like learn the craft of that and be able to choose a couple vineyards with their products and be able to be an ambassador here in the States, you know, really showcasing how, you know, those are made. So that's one little connection there. And then I think the sauna piece, I just recently have been trained with the Revivery method, which is all the benefits of hot and cold contrast therapy for your body. But then what we were trained in is being able to lead in a biopsychosocial model, which is the biology and the physical impact, and then the psychology and the brain, and then the social piece of it, all coming together in this one experience. So I am trained in guiding people through those sessions and building resilience through heat and cold that they can then take into their lives, which I personally did.
Nice.
You know, so those are kind of 2 different tracks, but I I feel like I have to have both of them out there right now. I'm not sure like where it's all going to go, but that's, honestly.
I love it. I do. I really do. I love people with a vision, and yours is unique, which is why I wanted to talk with you, why I wanted you to share your journey, why I wanted you to share, most importantly, in my opinion, not most importantly, but important today, is your vision for what you see and how you plan on getting there through these social experiments that you're conducting that are definitely taking heed, they're taking hold. And I'm sure that you'll have a whole entourage of other advocates that are part of the Zero Proof and just a part of the Jen Veralle fan club. So excited to be a part of this. I'm excited to bring a different spin to your journey and your story and your awareness. And I look forward to being one of the few people to get to taste test the first bottle. Of your new experiment once you get that moving.
Well, first you're going to do the cold plunge into
that's a given.
And then
I ain't scared.
With a NA wine and a toast to that.
I ain't scared. I ain't scared. I'm not scared. And I'm saying it publicly right here on my own podcast. I ain't scared. I'll jump in.
I love it. Okay.
I might never do it again, but I'm gonna jump in. Hey, as long as when I get in, those people, you see those movies where they be getting lost under the ice down there floating away. No. So we can't be doing that. But other than that, I'm good.
We're gonna make sure we don't lose you.
All right, Jen. Well, listen, we want all of our listeners to check out Jen. It's jenveralle.com. We've been posting it throughout the show. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, for those of you that are listening on one of your favorite podcasts, it is Jen, Jen Veralle, Veralle.com. We want you to go check her out and support her. You can do without a drink. I mean, you're not going to die if you don't have a drink, right? You can go to a party and be the life of the party. Jen didn't know she was the life of the party until she figured out she was cool without any help. We call it, back in my day, we called it liquid courage.
Yeah.
So you can do it without the liquid courage. Guys wouldn't go ask a girl to dance unless they were nice and ready, with little alcohol primer. But those of us that don't need that, understand that there are alternatives, there are opportunities, and you can live in a life, or you can do the things that are going to make you better, healthier, and wiser. Jen, thank you so much for joining our podcast. Hang out in the back room for a second, and I'll be right back with you.
Will do. Thanks, Derick.
All right, you're welcome. So, we love to have people with creative ideas. She is launching into an area through the means that society has dictated for us to be successful. What am I saying? People love to be entertained. They love to go to basketball games. They want to go to football games. They want to be entertained. That's why they go to bars, do social drinking, social eating, all the things. What Jen is doing is creating healthy experiences to expose you to opportunities to not only be healthy, but also to have a better way of life. It goes right back to developing your personal code of excellence. And that's what we're all about, helping you figure out how to live your best 24K life according to your code of excellence, so that each and every decision that you make is true to you. I'm Derick Gant. Be your best. Bring your best. Leave nothing to chance.